And thank you so much for that. I am absolutely committed, as a former prosecutor myself, and having worked in adjacent positions with law enforcement for most of my career. I completely concur that crime on our soil, no matter where the victim or the perpetrator was born, is our responsibility to address. And it's becoming more complex because of our border issues.
100%. The complexity cannot be understated. The fact that it's an evolving...
Let me finish the...
Yes,
let me get
please,
to the question.
please.
So that complexity requires a much higher degree of coordination and very clear lines of who's in charge here, because you don't want... the worst thing in an investigation is to have people stepping on each other.
Exactly.
But let me ask you this. The fiscal note for this bill is $7.1 million. Is that in addition to the $6.5 billion that we've allocated to border security? So is that on top of the $6.5 billion?
So the number that I have actually, Senator's a little... Yeah. So let me just say this. We got some different figures coming into this in terms of what it looks like. What we're doing in terms of resources, we are specifically with regard to this bill. So I'm just going to speak to this bill. The number, that $6 million figure, is what we're talking about here for roughly an additional 30 FTE. That's really what we're doing. It's about 30 FTE. The rest of the FTEs that will be a part of this division are all coming from existing other roles. Again, to the comment around greater efficiency, breaking the silos, and being better coordinated. So I can only speak to the fact that, we can talk about the broader appropriation, all that we're doing. We're just talking about specifically this $6 million figure for the additional FTE, roughly, I think 23 people to be precise. So to kind of give you some sense of what the dollars look like in greater detail.
As we've discussed before on the floor, I'm seeing increasing add-on costs that the state is taking on, sometimes at the state level, in this instance, and sometimes at the local level on local property tax. I would like for us to continue working to see how much of these additional costs that seem to be ongoing can fit underneath that $6.5 billion umbrella, so that we don't enable the federal obligation to continue to be foisted onto the state. And so I'd love to work with you to ratchet down the enabling of the feds, while also appropriately funding the fine work of multi-agency coordination on enforcing crimes committed on Texas soil, irrespective of where the victim or the perpetrator was born.
Yeah, look, Senator, I always want to be responsible for the taxpayer, but as we all know in this room, there's nothing more important than the security and safety of all the Texans constituents that we're so blessed to represent. And so happy to work with you on that regard. I think this is an incredibly efficient and inexpensive investment that will yield enormous benefit for the citizens of the state. And so when you look at where you want to spend money, where those dollars should go, what is a core function of government, the security and protection of our people, to me, is at the top of the list. And so for those reasons, I feel like this is very prudent, very intelligent. We're just, again, primarily deploying those additional resources. But like you, I want to see the federal government do everything, pick up the majority of the cost associated with the border. We all want that. But until that day comes and until we have consistency there over long periods of time with regard to planning and security and so forth, then I think, again, we're doing the right things to protect the state of Texas.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for the question, Senator.